the Sam's. Got a 13-pound whole packer brisket. Flat on this side, point over here. So we're cooking the whole thing. Sometimes you'll get just the flat. And that's, you know, there's two muscles in here with a big band of fat called decal that runs right through the middle of them. And that is separating these two pieces of meat. A lot of guys separate that out so they can, you know, just focus on burn ends from the point and their slices from the flat. Cooking at home, we're gonna leave all that fat in there. Fat is flavor. You can get flavor in there with injecting or marinades. There's a lot of things you can do that we're not going to do today to this piece of meat. We're going to cook it whole with the fat in the middle, and that's going to give us all that flavor we need, and we'll separate them at the end. So, first thing you want to do is get you a good sharp knife. Free this bad boy. And don't cut yourself. Practice good knife skills. Maybe we'll talk about that in another video. Today I'm just going to assume that you know them. Okay. So here again, you know, you'll see a lot of different shapes of these. This butcher here left this big wing on here. Try to see that thin piece of meat isn't going to cook right. It's going to burn. So we'll cut this. You can keep this for burgers, for sausage, anything. We've made some good burn ends, but for the cook we're doing, it's just going to burn and cook uneven. So here we go again. Flat and point. Point is the thick part. I'm not going to trim really anything off of this flat. Everything is pretty smooth. I might take it down a little bit over here on this side. Just because it's super fat. 1/4 inch is good. If you can get it down in there. If you start to see pink, you're good to go. Lift your knife up. Keep moving. So right in this ridge here, this is about where the flat keeps going for about most of this cut, but it goes under the point. So we're going to make a line right here just to tell ourselves, basically I'm going to come to the point up here, and I'm going to trim a lot of this fat off because it's super thick. Again, I'm just trying to find the top of our red meat, get it exposed without gouging in there too much. Get your hand under it and bend it up. Hope you get under it and get it started. Pull it back with your finger. Try to cut underneath of that while you're pulling up with your other hand. Should just be able to keep raising that up. Fat on the end of this one. Square that up. like I said, at a competition I would be maybe even getting a little more fancy. I'm trying to get this fat off of this so I can get a good rub on it. Otherwise it'd just be buried in that fat. And since the flat covers it on most of the other side, this is your best point meat right here. You know, while I'm doing this, I mean, this is, like I said, to try to pound flavor into it. If you're not comfortable with all this trimming, you really don't have to do it. You can literally just rub the other side of this thing liberally and follow the rest of the directions, and you'll still have a pretty good brisket. But I'm going to go ahead and leave that. You see a lot of that meat now, and you'll notice the grain is running this way on the point, and it actually runs this way on this flat. So when you're slicing this flat, you're always going to want to start from one of these small corners, and we'll get into that when we're done. But you'll notice two different grains. That's why you got to separate them and slice them accordingly across their own respective grain, and that way you'll have some good tender parts. Sorry, I trimmed that much of it. That little bit was bugging me. There we go. Good enough. Good enough. We'll leave it for what it is today. One more piece of fat that I take out is this big, huge piece over here. A lot of people don't. It's a big, hard piece of fat that doesn't render out. You can't miss it. As soon as you touch it, you'll know. I start in behind it from the middle and try to get underneath of it and keep pulling it up. And you can see there's still a big old piece in there. Cut right out of the side or right down in it like a wedge. I might leave the rest of this just because it's going to keep going. That runs into that decal there, so we'll let that be for what it is. And to move this trim along. Now, in competition especially, you'll want to come in and clean up a lot of this, we call it silver skin stuff, and you don't want to gouge your meat. You want to try to get under that and clean that up. The main reason is your rub won't stick to it that great. Okay, we're going to let most of it ride today just because, again, it's not going to affect the eating as bad, and we're not competing against 30 other people cooking dinner, so we'll get the most of it off right here. Alright. Keep her down from hacking up anymore. If this were competition, like, I would trim these edges down and try to square everything up. We're not going to do that today. Maybe in another video. I'm sure all the guys we cook against would love that, even though. So, two things. Move this forward. I like to cook in these long foil pans. And then these cooling racks, you can get these at Walmart or anywhere. They got little feet, legs on them. You put that down, and that's going to hold your meat up out of the juice it's going to push out during the cook, and help to keep that bark on there that you're going to cook this thing forever to try to get. So we're going to move this straight into there. I will rub this side first. And I use canola oil. Sometimes I use extra virgin olive oil. Sometimes I use Worcestershire sauce as a binder. Play around, see what you like. You're just trying to get something on it to make your rub stick. And it doesn't have to be a ton of it there. That on. And I'm not going to rub this flat with all this fat still on it because we're not going to penetrate it. So this is 50% coarse black pepper and coarse kosher salt. And then I've cut in about 1/3 of great white smoke steak and chop rub. It's got some good seasoned salts in it. So we're going to put this on pretty heavy and try to get a nice crust on this thing as best we can with these burn ends. You don't rub in, you want to pat rub in or push it, kind of push it down in there. So there's good rub on that side. We're going to turn that down. That's another thing that a lot of people are like, fat cap up, fat cap down. We cook our pork butts fat cap down. Most people don't. I didn't for a long time cook it this way. Since I'm catching all the juice in this pan, I focus more on getting a good bark all over the top of the flat on this side, so you're going to get those good slices with that good bark on top of it there. And the underside of the point, that is really this top here. See, the flat runs all the way to here. This is all flat. This fat right here is literally coming between it. You can see it on this side. This, I could just peel that up, you'd have the flat. So we got the bottom side of the point. We can get some good burn ends out of that still too. I might just leave that little piece in there. Let's see how fast it cooks. Why not? It'll be fun. A little rub on the corner. Alright, same thing. Pretty liberal with the rub. Get the sides good. Alright. Makes a good mess. Such is barbecue. Alright, and that's it. It's trimmed and it's rubbed. It's ready to go on the heat. So we're gonna crank this Masterbuilt 560 up to 300, let's say. We already lit it and have it kind of preheated. I'll do another review on this machine sometime, but we love it. We've cooked on big old fuel oil drums since the beginning, and we've had a lot of success. That's why I wasn't really afraid to get made fun of on the competition trail about having something that I could set and forget. But this is the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 560 charcoal. You know, it's a lot like a pellet grill, except it uses real charcoal. We use Royal Oak, all natural, in this machine, and I'm telling you, you'll see at the end, this just pounds the smoke ring into the brisket, beef especially. I mean, everything we've cooked so far has been super moist and juicy, and like I said, I can't say enough about this thing. We actually have 2 now for the competition team, so we're pretty excited about that.